Jesus preached the kingdom. Check the whole four Gospels, read it, check it out. You're not going to find anywhere where Jesus preached anything else other than the kingdom of God. But now, we come to the interesting point of the passage to me. Jesus says, I will build my church. But my question is, how do we know that it's his church? Is it because we religiously say that it is his church all the time? Is it even because Jesus says that it is his church? No. I will build my church. But the way that you know that it is my church, check the text out, the way that you know it is my church is because the gates of hell are not prevailing against it. Therefore, I want to submit to you that if hell seemingly is winning, he ain't building this church. We are building our church conveniently using his name. Hell is not winning against my church. When I saw that, you could believe that I was like, whoa. Much of what goes on under the caption of church is not really church. Church is not a place where we come for 2 hours to get a song and a sermon and then go home. It is supposed to be a place where legislation takes place. Remember, the ecclesia was supposed to be people that I call out to get my mind and my will and my intentions to write it down as law and come and distribute it to you. So the ecclesia is where legislation is supposed to happen. It is supposed to be a place where the king's heavenly views become apparent in the earth through legislation via the church. But sadly, we have reduced the ecclesia, the legislative assembly of the kingdom, to a place designed for spiritual inspiration. And as a result, there's no power in our assemblies. We are contented to sit, sulk, and sour because we don't understand ecclesia. We are contented to come to Sunday school, sing 4 or 5 songs, sing 3 short songs, take up the offering, come preach a sermon, everybody come for altar call, get slain in the spirit, go home, speak in tongues for a little bit, and then come and do the same thing week after week after week because we don't understand ecclesia. We don't understand ecclesia. We come to church, we fellowship, we get inspired, but there's no legislative authority because we don't understand ecclesia. No, we don't understand ecclesia, but rather we understand a meeting to feel better religiously. The Bible does not understand what we call church as a definition of church. The ecclesia is where the mind, the thoughts, and will of the king is demonstrated and enforced, and the kingdom of God is represented. This concept of ecclesia is best understood by an embassy. An embassy is sovereign territory. The embassies all over the world. As a matter of fact, there's an American embassy in Barbados. That embassy is not a part of Barbados. That embassy, is not subject to the laws of Barbados nor the sanctions of Barbados. That embassy is not subject to answer to anything Barbados tells it because it belongs to the host country. Only Americans can operate the embassy, and only Americans protect the embassy. That is what the church is. The church is God's heavenly embassy sent to different parts, his ecclesia sent to different parts of the earth. Our particular one is right here in Simpson Bay, in order to have a proper representation of what heaven is. That's the job of an embassy and an ambassador, basically, to represent to the highest degree possible the values, the morals, and the actions of the host country. That's the function of an embassy. And the church is an embassy. The embassy's job is to make sure that the country, its host country, is represented properly. Doesn't it say in the Bible that we are to make sure that we do good work so that people on the outside and as well as the inside don't have nothing to say about us? Job of an embassy, job of an ambassador. So in essence, an embassy is a little bit of the home country away from home. When you get through the embassy, you are on American territory. Just like how when the ecclesia gets together here, this is supposed to be a little bit of heaven a long way from earth, a little bit of heaven a long way from home. It's supposed to be the place where the king, his viewpoint is heard, understood, applied, and replicated. The king's viewpoint. Not yours, not mine, not ours. Ain't no ours in no kingdom. There's only him, king. He's the only head honcho. Now, just a little side note. When I was studying the embassy thing, I was kind of shocked to discover that the building we call the embassy is not really the embassy. That's called the chancery. The embassy are the people that work in it. You see how smart God is? Yes. The church is not this building here. This is the ecclesia. Just like how the embassy is the people that work in the embassy. Embassy, not the building. I was shocked. That was wow. So, from verse 18, we can summarize this. Jesus gives the name of the institution, the church, the foundation it's built on, the fact that he is king, and how we recognize it. Hell is not winning. But now in verse 19, he's getting ready to give us the modus operandi of the church. He's getting ready to tell us how the church is supposed to operate. He's getting ready to give us the charter of the church. So, he said that in verse 18, the gates of hell will not prevail against it. But now in verse 19, he's about to outline how that is supposed to happen. Verse 19, he said, I will give you the keys of the kingdom of heaven. Stop. I will give. I will give. You didn't work for it. You didn't earn it. You didn't even deserve it. God, in his gracious nature, gave you the keys of the kingdom. He gave them to you. He gave them to us. He gave them to the church. Now, he says the keys of the kingdom and not the key or the keys to the kingdom. Why is this important? Word placement in the Bible is very important because God didn't just put that there for space. Jesus said that not one jot or tittle, that's the little squiggly lines above the little things that make a word what a word is, that will not pass. And Paul said that, and to thy seed and not seeds. So even plural or singular forms are important. So right here we see the keys of the kingdom. So, keys of the kingdom. Why is that so important? Let's say, for instance, I have a big house down in Digo Bay. Right, Dion? Big house down in Digo Bay? Don't know. And I gave you the key to my front door. You have the key to my house, but you don't have the keys of my house. Because I have a bedroom that's probably locked. I have a game room that's probably locked. I have a study that's probably locked. I have a garage with like 3 cars in it that's probably locked. You have the key to my front door, but you don't have the keys of my house. Right. Meaning you don't have access to anything else other than my front door. Sometimes we're so contented as kingdom citizens to just step into the kingdom and just stay there. As kingdom citizens already, we don't need keys to the kingdom because we're already in the kingdom. What we need now are keys of the kingdom so that we can unlock heaven's power and heaven's resources on our behalf here. Jesus is the one key, everybody, the one key. There's only one key to get to the kingdom, and that's Jesus. Nobody else. Forget it. Ain't nobody else. There's one key. Jesus. He's the key into the kingdom. But now after you get into the kingdom, now you have to get, he already gave you the keys of the kingdom, but now it's up to us to use them.
That's right. Amen.
Now, keys represent 3 things, and these 3 things kind of mesh with each other. Keys represent access, keys represent authority, and keys represent control. If you have the key to something and you access it, you automatically have authority over what you access. And if you have authority over what you access, then you can control what you have access to. For example, on this bunch of keys here, one of them is the key to the songroom. When I'm here on Friday nights with the youths, I'm the only one with a key to the songroom. Therefore, I have access to the songroom. The minute I open the songroom, I become the authority in that room. And because I'm the authority in that room, I can control, I can put the sound system on, I can play a CD, I can play a DVD, I can put a computer on, I can put the TVs on. I have control over all the audio, video equipment of the church because I have access to it. Now, more than one person can have a key to something, but the difference is your knowledge in how to operate it. Urban and I both have keys to the songroom, so that means we have the same level of authority, same level of access, same level of control. The difference is he is more knowledgeable about the happenings inside there than I am. So he is able to effectively use all that equipment better than me because he has the knowledge of it. That is why we have to have the knowledge of the keys of the kingdom. Because some people have more knowledge about keys than others. Some people have more knowledge about the key of healing. Some people have more knowledge about the key of prosperity. Some people have more knowledge about the key of education. Some people have more knowledge about the keys of whatever is the kingdom. The kingdom is so big, I can't even name all of them off the top of my head. Keys. Access, authority, control. That's what keys represent. So, all of that now, I will build, you are Peter, and I'm going to build the church on the Petra, that I am the king, and the gates of hell will not prevail against it. That's how you know that it is my church. And then I'm going to give you freely the access of all the resources of the kingdom. And now we get to the heart of it. This is the part of it that's quoted so religiously that we overlook the significance of what Jesus said. So let's look at that in the Amplified. Matthew 16:19. But first in the King James. And Jesus said, I will give unto thee the keys of the kingdom of heaven, and whatsoever thou shalt bind on earth shall be bound in heaven, and whatsoever you loose on earth shall be loosed in heaven. Yeah, we say that religiously. Check it out in the Amplified. I will give you the keys of the kingdom of heaven, and whatever you bind, declare to be improper and unlawful on earth, must be what is already bound, declared improper and unlawful in heaven. And whatever you loose, declare lawful and proper on earth, must be already what is ready loosed, declared proper and lawful in heaven. So basically what he's saying is, look here, whatever is up there, you need to take that from up there. That kingdom come, that will be done. You need to take it from up there and bring it here. That's the job of the church. That's how we use the keys of the kingdom. Whatever is already loosed up there, lawful and permitted up there, we need to take it from up there and bring it here. Whatever is not allowed, not permitted up there, we need to take that same thing from up there and bring it here. That is the modus operandi of the church. Now, you probably going to be saying, well, Jesus was talking to Peter here, so you got to be Peter he was talking to. No. Jesus was talking to Peter, yes, but he was talking to Peter as a spokesperson of the group. That's right. Peter was a spokesperson. Jesus answered Peter not because it was only Peter that asked it. No. The group asked it. Yeah. Peter answered. Yeah. In modern day terms, Peter was a pastor man. He's the representative body of Christian fellowship. That's right. So Peter was the representative body of the disciples. So he answered on behalf of the disciples, and Jesus talked to him on behalf of the disciples. That's why Peter was in the inner circle. Well, if you don't want to believe that too, no problem. No problem. Flip over to Matthew 18. You say he ain't talking to the church here? No problem. Matthew 18:18. No problem. Remember, everything I'm going to show you everything that's in the book. Matthew 18:18 in the Amplified again. Truly, Jesus is saying, I am telling you the truth, people. I'm telling you the truth. Whatever you forbid and declare to be improper and unlawful on earth must be what is already forbidden in heaven. Yep. And whatever is permitted, and whatever you permit and declare proper on earth has to be what already is permitted and declared lawful up there. Yep. You still want them here, Jesus ain't talking to the church? Scroll up a little bit and you will see Jesus here saying, if a brother have a problem and you take it to the church and the church don't want to hear it, you see the power of the church? After the church, there's nothing else. The church's responsibility is to take whatever is up there and bring it down here. The implications of that are staggering because that lets us know that God, Ephesians 3:10, he works through the church to the powers that be. God works through the church to the powers that be, the spiritual powers that control culture and society. Ephesians 3:10. God communicates and operates and works through his ecclesia, his legislative assembly of citizens. Religion, all right, religion, I told you already, religion have a problem with me, but there we go again. Religion has taught us to complain that the world is getting worse. But after studying the church and how the church is supposed to operate, I kind of beg to differ with that definition. Just hear me out, right? The problem we have in today is really not a problem of the culture or society per se. As a matter of fact, if I got to give the kingdom of darkness any credit, I got to give them credit for their consistency. Because the culture is consistent with the kingdom of darkness that it is a part of. So the problem is not the culture. I mean, racism and prejudice ain't just pop out of nowhere. They've been around for years. Who was more prejudiced than the Jews against the Gentiles?
That's right. That's right.
I mean, corruption in government ain't nothing new neither. Who was more corrupt than the monarchs of the medieval period? Who used to kill people and try to usurp the throne, and his sister killing his brother and his brother sleeping with his mother?
That's right. Yeah. That's right.
Who was more lustful towards men and women than the Greeks and the Romans?
That's right. That's right.
So the problem is not the culture. The culture is consistent. The problem is the church is not being the church. Therefore, it seems like the culture is getting stronger because the church is getting weaker.
Yeah. Yeah.
So stop blaming the culture. The culture is doing its job.
That's right.
The culture is doing its job. Satan is the god of this world, and as such, his kingdom is operating on his agenda, and it's doing a very good job. So the problem is not the culture, the problem is the church. Jesus said we are the salt of the earth. Okay? Salt is supposed to preserve and protect. If you don't put no salt in meat, it begins to decompose and rot. Right or wrong? Yeah. Okay, good. The church is supposed to be the salt of the society because the society is decomposing and rotting. But if the church, who is the salt, is losing its saltiness, how in the world are we going to preserve the society? On the flip side, you can't put too much salt in meat, otherwise it becomes overbearing. So God is a master chef. He knows exactly how to mix the right balance of salt and meat so that you can have a livable society. Salt. I mean, help me understand, please. Please, help me, please. How it is we can have all these preachers, with all these churches, with all these members, in all these buildings, with all these ministries, and all these programs, in every place in the world, and still the world is in the mess that it is. The Dutch would say, that klopt niet. That makes no sense. How are you going to have all these churches in every part of the world? Forget the world. How are you going to have, how many, 300-some churches right here on this island? How are you going to have 300-some churches on this island and still St. Martin is the way it is? The church is not being the church. 300-and-something churches on a 2x4 island. And still St. Martin is the way it is. Because of our misconception of ecclesia, the kingdom of darkness has been free to wreak havoc in our families and in our government, and allowing the family and the government to influence the church. You're letting the distortion of families, how people say it's all right for a man and a man to get married and create a family, or a woman to get married and create a family. We're allowing that to infiltrate the church, and then we're allowing the government to say that the church has no say in politics whatsoever, so we're allowing that to influence the church. So we kind of put the church in a box where we really can't do nothing with nobody, and therefore the society is just going the way it is. And how in the world we could sit and criticize society for the way it's going when the light is nowhere to be found?
Come on now. Come on now. Come on now. Come on now.
The light is nowhere to be found. The youths had a sleepover a night there. We took the chairs out of the church, and When we took the lights off and lights out, I had a little flashlight. A small little flashlight, probably smaller than this thing right here. And the whole room was dark, you know. But then one of the leaders was up here. I was in the back. One of the leaders was up here with our flashlight. When they turned it on, even though the room was still dark, you could still see your way around. A small little flashlight. Light, no matter how small it is, you can always see it. So why are we going to sit and criticize the way the education system is going if we as kingdom citizens don't want to become teachers and show how the kingdom teaches students, or you as a kingdom parent don't want to join the PTA board to monitor what kind of books your children are reading? How are you going to criticize the judicial system if you as a kingdom citizen don't want to become a lawyer and infiltrate the bar so people can see how a kingdom citizen tries a case? How are you going to criticize the economic industry if you as a kingdom citizen don't want to have any entrepreneurial skills to start your own business to show how ethical business practices are followed? How we going to criticize government if us as kingdom citizens don't want to be the light and run for public office to show how kingdom citizens make laws? How can the glory of God be seen if we don't want to do nothing? That's the church. That is the agenda of the church. To get a group of people to know the mind and will of the king, and take the king's mind and will and go take up positions in government, education, entertainment, business, everywhere, infiltrate the world, go ye into all the world and teach. You say go into the church. The church is supposed to go into the world and teach them. I already gave you my mind and my thoughts and my wills. You need to go out there now and teach them everything I taught you. That's the church. And you can do that by using the keys of the kingdom of heaven and unlocking whatever is bound up there and bringing it to pass down here, and loosing whatever is loose already up there and bringing it down here. That's how the church operates. We just content to be religious. The church is always on the offensive, never defensive. The church is always on the move, always on the attack. The only way you can prevail against something is if something was attacking you and your defense is held up against it. You prevail against the attack. But Jesus already said that hell will not prevail against the attack of the church. So why are we behaving like we are? The ecclesia is never defensive, always offensive, always on the move, never retreat, never surrender. So why do we act like that? 2 Chronicles 7:14. If my people, the possessive pronouns again, if my people, my ecclesia, who are called by my name, shall humble themselves, is up there? Humble themselves, pray, seek my mind, my will, seek my face, understand my thoughts. Help me out. I turn from the wicked ways. After you find out my will and my thoughts, you're supposed to have a repentance, a change of mind. Then I will hear from heaven, and then I will what? And what? So you can't talk about healing the land if the church is not being the church. Psalm 128:5. The Lord shall bless thee out of Zion. Zion is church. and thou shalt see the good of Jerusalem after the Lord blesses Zion. After the Lord works through Zion, works through the church, then you will see the good of the city, Simpson Bay. And then everybody in here going to see their grandchildren. And then everybody shall see peace upon St. Martin, the prosperity of it. After the church gets in order. That is God's agenda for the church. The only way that we can talk about healing our cities, seeing the prosperity of our nations, is when the church, the called out assembly of God, begins to function and revisit the king's agenda for the church, the legislative assembly of kingdom citizens.